Hello and welcome to episode 16 of Hospo Happy Hour, proudly brought to you by Hospo for Life and Warner's Distillery. Today's episode we'll be discussing with exercise physiologist Jack Whitaker why and how to address the motivation to exercise, followed by the Professor and Chair of Mental Health at the University of South Australia, Nicholas Proctor, for last drinks. Let's get Friday going. Up for the first round today, we have Jack Whitaker. Jack is an accredited exercise physiologist with OC Health by Altius. For the past 3 years, Jack has been assisting injured individuals with both physical and psychological conditions to return to work. Jack uses the OC Health approach of to get back to normal, you need to do normal things. Jack has also worked with hospitality workers, including chefs, bartenders, cafe owners, waiters, and waitresses, to overcome barriers to their recovery and assist them to return to the rigors and demands of hospitality and getting back to the things they love. Working in a bar while studying, Jack understands the physical and psychological demands that working in fast-paced hospitality environments are known for. By employing strategies to assist people to realise their own health potential, Jack focuses his approach on providing people with the tools to take their recovery into their own hands. How are you today, Jack?
I'm well, thanks, Liam. Thanks for having me on.
My pleasure. So tell me, how can we address the motivation to exercise?
So look, Liam, with the situation we've found ourselves in at the moment with COVID-19, we've all seen a massive shift in our lives. And I know for a lot of your viewers that they've had their lives turned upside down and some overnight. And there's no doubt that there's a lot of uncertainty right now.
Big time.
It's certainly tough times, and the hospitality industry has really felt that.
Mm.
And although we find ourselves in this period of uncertainty, one thing that doesn't discriminate is our physical and our. It's more important now than ever. It's one of those things that is there with us no matter what, and we simply need to try and keep it managed and under control.
Yeah.
So now my colleague John was on the program last week, and he was discussing the benefits of using exercise to manage not just our physical health, but our mental health too.
Yeah.
He talked about the fact that just 16 weeks of moderate intensity exercise like walking had a similar effect at reducing depression and anxiety symptoms when compared to mild antidepressants. He also spoke about the fact that exercise, even in small doses, releases endorphins or happy hormones to our brain, making us happier and more relaxed. Now, I know this all sounds good. Awesome. Go out and exercise and you'll notice positive changes. The evidence is there and it works. But I have a feeling that I know what some of your viewers might be thinking, that I can't be bothered to exercise, or I don't have the energy, or I don't even know how, or how do I even start? And look, these concerns and thoughts are definitely valid. Often finding the energy or motivation to actually do some exercise is harder than doing the exercise itself. Now, as you said before, I worked in a bar for 4 years while studying, and I've had a little bit of first-hand experience on the matter.
Yeah, tell me about that.
So look, I worked in a bar and I remember the 12-hour shifts on your feet, the countless flights of stairs you're running up and down, the endless trips carrying ice buckets back and forth, and the 2 a.m. closes. It's absolutely exhausting. And the last thing you want to do after all that is exercise. All you want to do is rest. Exercise
I guess we get a lot of exercise as we're doing it, unless you're just standing in one spot constantly. I know personally, I've had a few projects I've been on and, pushing close to a few kilometers a day, and that just, within the venue.
Yeah, definitely. And it's one of those things where when we're working in hospitality, we get a lot of that incidental exercise, which is really important. But it's that exercise and those goals outside of the workplace that are often neglected. And I know when I was working in hospitality, I was just too exhausted to focus on personal exercise. And I know a lot of your viewers at the moment, Liam, are unfortunately not working, and that they can't do the jobs that keep them fit and strong and social and get in those incidental exercise that we talked about. And when we dive into the research from hospitality industry, what we find is that the levels of exercise engagement within the industry are quite low outside of working hours. And we seem to know why. And it's mostly due to the reason that I mentioned that stopped me before, and that was just the exhaustion.
Yeah.
So we know that exercise is essentially good and as beneficial as some medications, and has a huge range of benefits for our mental and our physical health. But we also know that statistically, hospitality workers don't usually engage in exercise outside of the workplace.
Mm.
So how can we bridge the gap? How can we help hospitality workers get involved in exercise so they too can harness the wide benefits that exercise has to offer? A lot of it comes down to motivation. Do we have the motivation, the incentive, the enthusiasm to actually tie up our shoes, set apart some time and get active?
Yeah.
Now, I know a lot of your viewers today want some practical tips on how they can boost their motivation to actually get involved and start some exercise. But before I do that, I just want to discuss a little bit more about what motivation is exactly. So scientists define motivation as the general willingness to do something.
Mm.
It's the set of psychological forces that compel you to take action.
Mm.
And look, that's nice and all, but I think we can come up with a bit more of an impactful definition.
Yeah.
What we've come up with is motivation is often the result of action, not the cause of it. So on a really general level, we can categorize motivation into two camps. Number one is internal or intrinsic motivation, and number two, external or extrinsic motivation.
Yeah.
So internal motivation is done for personal reasons, like starting to run so you can breathe better. Whereas external motivation comes from outside us, like starting to run to win a 5-kilometer race. Now, the reason, Liam, I'm breaking this down is that I think it's really important to understand what is driving our decision making.
Mm.
This is really the first step in getting motivated to exercise. Do we want to do something because it will make us internally happy? Or do we want to do something for an external reward?
Yeah.
Look, there's no one right answer. And more often than not, it's actually a combination of different motives that cause people to engage in behavior and actually start exercising.
Yeah.
One of the keys to getting motivated is to make it really easy to start. Remove all your barriers.
Mm.
Now, when we're looking at the motivation to exercise, I think the first step to think about is the why.
Yeah.
What is your goal? Why are you thinking about exercise? And what do you want to achieve from doing it? The best advice I can provide is firstly, set yourself specific and achievable goals.
Mm.
If you've never learned how to swim, don't expect yourself to be Ian Thorpe next week. For someone who never have exercised before, let's use an example. You may have a goal of walking to the shops and back without being out of breath.
Mm.
So let's take that goal and really break it down. So firstly, look at dividing the main overarching goal of walking to the shops down into several small, specific and measurable tasks.
Yeah.
Smaller goals are easier to achieve and will keep you motivated towards your main goal. It also allows for celebrations and some wins along the way. For example, try first walking to the corner of your street and back, or try walking 2 to 3 times per week at a smaller distance.
Mm.
Small? Yes. Specific? Yes. Measurable? Definitely.
Yeah.
So next, create a plan. It doesn't need to be expertly crafted, nor does it need to be lengthy.
Mm.
Set yourself a plan of walking every second day. Best to have this realistic and actually achievable.
Mm.
Planning to walk 7 days a week when you currently don't walk at all just isn't likely to happen. Next is be open to change.
Yeah.
You may start working towards your exercise goal and feel that it's too hard, or on the other hand, too easy. Remember, your goals are not set in stone. Just like us, they're adaptable and open to change.
And I guess, you know, a lot of hospitality employees, you know, get public transport to work, for instance, and a goal to, and setting a small one could be, you know, getting off the bus like a couple of stops before your normal stop. So you're getting in that walk before you start work in the morning or in the afternoon or whatever time of day it is. And that, so at least, you know, you've done something before you've got there. I know, you know, going back years ago when I was working for someone else, and that I used to do the same thing. And that, so a few mornings a week, and that I'd be like, all right, instead of getting off the bus, like right out the front of work and walking straight in the door, and that I'd get off like all the way down the other end of the Esplanade and walk along the beach to get to work each day. And that, but you always felt that the days that you did it, you'd always feel better and you'd feel clear in the head rather than just walking straight in the door and going, oh, what are we going to do today? Yeah.
Yeah, 100% Liam. And the best way to integrate it into your life is exactly like you said. Make it a part of your routine and what you already do. It doesn't need to be big changes and big schedules to make things happen. Often making that incidental exercise into your everyday life is the easiest thing to do.
Yeah.
But also, like you said, a lot of those tips and the benefits that you were feeling were when you're working. Whereas unfortunately at the moment, I know there's a lot of people in the industry who aren't working. So they've lost that opportunity to be able to get those incidental steps in and do those movements that they're not used to. So what I thought we could do next is talk about some practical tips that your viewers can use to boost their motivation to exercising at the moment. Some tangible strategies that you can use in your day-to-day life to give you a helping hand to maybe tie your shoelaces up and get out there and be active.
Definitely.
So the first tip I'm going to give today is schedule your motivation. So Liam, you might have heard of the phrase before, we don't plan to fail, we fail to plan. And this is so true when starting out with exercise. We don't just roll out of bed and get straight to it. We need to take time to think about what works best for us. You may be a morning person. Maybe it takes you 2 cups of coffee to get going. Or if you're used to those late nights, like I'm sure many of your viewers are, maybe you're a night owl. Find a time that suits you best. Scheduling and setting a time for yourself seems simple, but it puts your decision-making on autopilot, giving your goals a time and place to occur. Try deciding that the night before that, for instance, you want to go for a walk tomorrow at 10 a.m. Research tells us that once we commit to specifics, even internally in our mind, we're more likely to do it, even if we don't tell this plan to anyone. Number 2 is build a ritual. Think about sporting teams for a second. They don't just strap on the boots and start playing. They have a pre-game routine, warm-up, rituals, whatever you like to call them. It gives you a mindless way to start your exercise behaviors. An example of this I found was Japanese author Haruki Murakami. He wakes up at 4 a.m., he goes for a run, and then sits down and writes for 5 hours. So although this is an extreme example, it highlights that it's consistent and it's a routine.
Yeah.
Now let's tie this back to our example. You could try doing some stretches before you start walking to the shops and heading back. A few leg swings, some squats, and some calf raises would do just fine. And apart from physically getting your body ready to move, it also switches your mind into first gear for actually doing your exercise. Number 3 is make your preparation obvious. Prepare what you need so you can't say no. Start with the easy tasks that prepare you for exercise, that are so simple anyone can do them. This way you're making a conscious effort to start your exercise as well as commencing your ritual. For example, you've scheduled in your mental diary that you're going for a walk at 10 a.m. tomorrow to work towards that goal we talked about before. Before going to bed, try gathering your shoes, your clothes, your empty water bottle, your headphones, and put them all in the middle of the floor. This way, when you wake up in the morning, the first thing you will see will be everything you need to get going. It basically eliminates the reason not to do it.
Yeah, it does.
And the last tip I'm going to give today is get social. It's not surprising that people sometimes exercise in groups or boot camps. For some, there's an infectious appeal with the prospect of exercising with others, whether it be your best friend, your housemate, your head chef, or your barista. Exercising with others and scheduling the time to do so makes it easier to get motivated and actually exercise.
Certainly does.
For example, with our goal of walking to the shops and back, like we said before, you can give a friend of yours a call and ask if they want to meet you at the shops on Friday, or if they want to meet you at your house first and you can walk there together.
Yeah.
This way you have someone to hold you accountable. It gives you an excuse to be social, as well as giving you that boost of motivation to get working towards your exercise goal. So I think it's also important to remember that you don't need much motivation once you've started a new exercise behavior. All of the friction and resistance in a task is at the beginning.
Yeah, it is.
Once you start, progress occurs more naturally. So in other words, it's often easier to finish a task than it was to start in the first place.
Yeah, it's true.
So one of the main keys to getting motivated is to make it easy to start.
Now, that's some great tips, Jack. And I think there's a lot of takeaway points that people can take from that. And certainly, doing anything with someone else, or, whether it's a colleague or a friend, and that it does make it a lot more enjoyable. And that plus, you've got that stimulation because you're talking to one another as well, which is a big help as well.
Yeah, definitely. It's one of those things where when I'm sure a lot of your viewers work in hospitality, they're social all the time. They're talking to customers and colleagues and friends, where at the moment, we're just not getting that social interaction. So it gives you enough opportunity to be social and physical at the same time.
Yeah, it's perfect. It's a recipe for success.
That's it. It's a win-win.
Yeah. Now, well, thanks for joining us on the show today, Jack. It's been great to have a few of your insights into motivation. And I think a lot of us need that motivation now to get prepared to start looking at going back to our daily jobs and, going back to work again as well. So, no, really appreciate it. And yeah, have a great week.
Thanks a lot, Liam. Take care.
Cheers, Jack. Healthy and happy Friday to everyone at home. Today we're going to learn how to make a nice smoothie to have with breakfast in the morning or any time of day. Here I have some banana. That's a great source of vitamin B6, great, full of potassium as well. I've got a little bit of mango that not only tastes great, but it's full of amazing benefits for the body. Strawberries that are a fantastic source of antioxidants. And we've also got some low-fat natural yogurt, which is full of probiotics. I've got some coconut water here. In replacement of the yogurt, we can also use coconut yogurt, which is really, really good. Also, if you're going to the gym or doing some fitness, you can add some of your favorite protein powder to it as well, and it's still really, really delicious. So what we're going to do, first of all, I've got a banana, which I'm just going to lightly chop, pop in our blender. I've got 3 strawberries here, packet full of strawberries. They're good for you. They go really, really nice in this smoothie as well. All strawberries go well in smoothies. So we're going to throw that in. And I've also got some mango here. So we're going to throw in a mango cheek. How cheeky of me. All right, here we go. So we can whack that in the blender. Just like so. Very, very fast, very quick. We can get this done the night before as well. Everything can get prepared, ready to go. Put it in a container for the next day. Very, very simple. So we're going to pop in some yogurt. I'm going to put in a couple of nice big dollops of low-fat yogurt. And our coconut water. Now, because we've got the yogurt in there, don't need as much coconut water, maybe about 150 mils will do. Still want it to be nice and thick. And there we have it, quick and easy. So we can start to blend. So we've given that about 30 seconds in the blender. Didn't take long at all. And now we can pour it into our glass. Sensational. Look at that, a healthy morning smoothie to get you going. Tastes absolutely awesome. I hope you've enjoyed our healthy recipes this week on the show. We'll catch you all next week with a few more. Have a great weekend. Up for last drinks today, we have very special guest from South Australia, Nicholas Proctor. Nicholas is the Professor and Chair of Mental Health and Mental Health Nursing at the University of South Australia. Welcome to the show, Nicholas. It's a pleasure to have you join us.
Thank you very much for having me, Liam. It's great to be here.
No, it's a pleasure having you, mate. So obviously you're within the university. Tell me, how have you been up to pre-COVID and some things that you've been working on? Because obviously now it's all, a lot's changed. And what did you start? What were you working on this year?
Look, this year we've been working on mental health responses for bushfire crisis. So the natural disaster and emergency that disrupted many lives across Australia, the routines of many people have been disrupted. So we've been working very closely with the Are You OK Foundation to develop a resource, refresh the mateship manual.
Yeah.
And in more recent times, the COVID-19 times, we've been working with the South Australian government and if you like, helping the South Australian government to be able to provide and consider and provide resources to support the lives of people who are having mental health challenges in COVID-19 times.
Yeah.
So they've been our biggest areas of work in so far this year.
Yeah, nice. Tell us about the Mateship Journal.
Look, the mateship manual is a resource. It's about 9 pages long, published by the Are You OK Foundation. So many people watching this right now will be familiar with the Are You OK Day, and I know you've interviewed ambassadors from Are You OK in the past. The idea about the manual is to really give people some guidance about what to ask, how to ask, if they're worried about someone who's doing it tough. And that might be someone, in the metropolitan area, in the restaurant industry, certainly in hospitality trade, but it's also someone who maybe is doing it tough for other reasons. And it's got a guide about the sorts of things to consider, but also what to say and what to follow up with. Asking the question, are you okay, is a good question to ask, and lives can be saved. But sometimes people might say, oh, look, mate, I'm all right, don't worry about me. No, don't worry. And it's about how to deal with maybe pushback when you are genuinely worried about someone. Because what we say in the manual, it's always better to ask than not to ask.
Yeah. Yeah, it's certainly true. And it's something that we've really focused on over the last few weeks on the show as well. And I've said a couple of times about myself, like I've had to make, a couple of phone calls to people and go, I just need to talk to you, because I'm not feeling the best. And we should never be, scared or feel guilty about doing that. Or even if we know that someone's not doing well, like just a simple text message to go, hey, how are you feeling today? Or, making a call and go, I'm just checking up on you to make sure you're fine. And that even if they say they are, it's that feeling that, hey, someone cares. And if they do want to expand on that and open up about it, they actually can. So it's providing that comfort for others as well. I'm guessing a lot of hospitality workers work across working bars and restaurants and that as a secondary to their studies at the university. How have things changed around the university since all of this has come in? Because I'm sure it would have affected a substantial number.
Look, you're right. And one of the biggest impacts has been the movement of movement to online courses. So universities have needed to move very quickly across Australia to relocate, if you like, their courses to 100% online so that students can continue with their studies and have as little disruption as possible. So the work that's been happening, and certainly at our university and other universities across Australia, has been about maintaining connection with students, maintaining the programs that people are enrolled in, and fundamentally trying to create a sense of continuity rather than discontinuity or disconnection.
Yeah, and I think that's the big thing is, keeping those normal daily routines that we've all been in and had, and keeping those sustained and keeping them going, and that to keep that sense of normality in life still. And have you seen an increase in any mental health challenges across the university at all, across any of the students?
What we've seen across Australia is a bit counterintuitive, actually, in terms of people reaching out. So the traditional sort of first few weeks, if you like, of the COVID-19 crisis, there were drop-offs around Australia in ED presentation, emergency department presentations for mental health challenges, mental distress. But we did see, and have been reported widely, a surge in the number of people reaching out to telephone helplines. So we've seen an increase in access to Lifeline, Beyond Blue chat line, and a range of other areas where people have been seeking support. And some of the reports that have been coming through have been quite interesting. One of the things that certainly caught my ear is that people who can normally deal with stressful events, on this occasion, the COVID-19, the being, having to remain at home, and losing your job, losing your livelihood, and having financial stress, have meant that those normal stresses of life that people could sort of cope with, this is different. They can't cope with that. They're not having the same sort of bounce back or coping that they would normally do. So for some people, needing to access job seeker, job keeper payments, for the first time, certainly that's been a stress. And then there's another group of people, Liam, who run businesses like restaurants or cafes or hospitality venues, who have to let people go. And the stress of letting people go, people that they've been loyal employees in the organisation, and getting themselves in the right headspace to be able to do that, have time to talk about that when they're dealing with their own stresses and worries and pressures brought about by COVID-19. That's been very significant as well.
Yeah, and I can totally relate to that. We had a very strong team Australia-wide across our company, and to not only find out that our business was stopping today, but then going, wow, like now I have to tell everyone else, I'm sorry guys, we haven't got any work for you now until further notice, until things bounce back, like however long that is. And just that feeling of, having to say that was a really bad day for me. I couldn't handle things. I was just like, this is too much. And it's, I can totally understand and that how hard that side of things is. And, we've really encouraged people to reach out during the show, and that if they're in that situation, and that to reach out and speak to us about it. I know, as you said, with our partners at Altius Group, they've seen a massive surge, and that because a bulk of their work now is done over telehealth, and they're exactly the same. The surge of calls and people that are, got bookings each day across, Australia is massive. So they've seen a huge rise in the amount of cases which have been presenting themselves through that as well. How's it affected you? How do you keep your mental health, sharp, or, do you have bad days or good days, or what do you do to keep yourself happy?
Look, a few things. That's a great question. I do a few things. I walk every day. So in Adelaide this morning, I can let you know it was 7 degrees outside when I went for my walk. So I do push myself every day to go for a walk, and I try to get about, I try to aim for 5,000 to 7,000 steps a day with my walking. I certainly talk to my team every day. So we have team discussions via Zoom platform with individual members, but also twice a week we have Zoom check-ins. At the beginning of the week we'll have a Zoom check-in, talk about how it's going, and at the end of the week, how was the group? How was the week for the group? And we've also set up a WhatsApp chat group. So the WhatsApp chat group is nothing COVID related. It's nothing work from home related. It's just chat about, something that might be happening. Someone might be cooking something. Someone might be preparing a meal. It could be a range of photos or images. One of our team has a small child, so there might be a photo of being out in a park now that there's a bit more relaxed availability of access to parks. So there's a few things that, taken in combination with each other, are all about staying connected. Fundamentally, what I do to look after my mental health is combine the ability to stay connected with other people through whatever virtual means is available, but also do self-care. So go for a walk, have time out. I'm currently working from home, so at the end of the day, I shut the door on my office. I don't go back in there, and have a really good separation between work and home.
Yeah, we've got to keep those things, going. I know walking's been a big part of, keeping myself feeling good, and that, like, it's, you get out in the fresh air and you feel a lot better, and keeping that exercise going and that normality is huge. So to finish it off, what thoughts or positive actions can we give, say, whether we're hospitality workers going to uni, or hospitality workers which are viewing the show, positive actions that they can put in place to look forward to, not only for the future, but things that they can do to stay on top of their mental health?
Look, I've got maybe 3 or 4 top things to say to hospitality workers. The first thing, it's okay if you're feeling that this is a difficult time, that if you think about it, you've been through a lot. So if you're feeling that it's a difficult time, it's part of the human condition to react that way.
Yeah.
And try to normalize that as much as possible. But importantly, it's the time for, reaching out and connecting with other people. So do talk about things. And if you're someone who's listening to a hospitality worker, be prepared to listen without trying to solve their problems. Don't rush or interrupt the conversation. Let the hospitality worker speak in their own time. Let them know that you're asking about them because you're concerned, and no matter what's going on in your lives right now, so if it's your wife or your girlfriend that you're worried about, no matter what's going on and for you both right now, that you have time to listen to that worker, and reassure them that you've listened by repeating back what you hear. So truly and deeply connects. And what I say is listen to listen. Don't listen to respond. Listen to listen. Don't listen to respond. So from there, the important thing is to realize that all of the economic modelling and all of the predictions that we're hearing, not just in Australia but elsewhere, all point to the conclusion that we will get back, we will bounce back. It will take some time, and to look after your mental health by taking those steps around getting professional support. So Australia, since bushfires and then since COVID, has been blessed in a sense by all these amazing, excellent, high-quality services and supports that have become available. So reach out to those supports. The earlier you intervene, the earlier you take steps, the greater the options that you have. And finally, my message, Liam, is to exercise what I call self-compassion. So if you're having a bad day, if you're not right, if you're not feeling okay, maybe think about what you would like to do that helps you be compassionate towards yourself. Something that calms you, something that soothes you, something that makes your situation safer. And nurture and give yourself something. Do something for yourself to help you move through this very difficult stage. Because having a bad experience on your own and trying to deal with that on your own makes it a harder experience to deal with. So find professional support that is right for you. If you're worried about your mental health or the mental health of a loved one, talk to your doctor, but also be compassionate towards yourself. Listen to some great music that you really enjoy. Go for a walk, do something with your children, spend time with others, nurture yourself, and seek support from a trusted professional, as I've mentioned, as well. So all of these things in combination are really important.
Yeah, absolutely. And as I say to the viewers, and that if you need that extra support, you can contact us at info@hospoforlife.com.au, and we're here to support you. Look, thanks very much for joining us today, Nick. You've given us some great advice, some great tips, and it's been an absolute pleasure having you join us. I know you're very busy, and it's great to see you on the show.
Congratulations for all the great work you're doing, and thank you for the opportunity.
No, my pleasure, Nick. Thanks so much. Well, that's all we have time for on today's show. You can catch us back here on Monday at 5 p.m. Big thanks to our partners, Warner's Gin and Altius Group, for supporting the show and our guests today. If you or anyone you know needs support, you can contact us at info@hospoforlife.com.au, and we can provide you with a free one-on-one with a psychologist to get you on the road to feeling better. Stay strong and stay united in spirit to create a positive change for a healthier industry. I'm Chef Liam Crawley. Stay safe and have a great weekend. Good night.